Good evening, and welcome to the public hearing dated June 20th, 2023. This meeting is in consideration of an application to amend the subdivision bylaw. The current provision to sidewalks on one side of the roads for new collector roads and amend the current provision for sidewalks on arterial roads from sidewalks on both sides of the road to a sidewalk on one side of the road only, multi-use paths, and the multi-use path definition and construction specification. This public hearing is scheduled in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. You will be asked to provide your name and address prior to speaking. You will have 5 minutes and only one opportunity. You are being live streamed and recorded. We ask that you be respectful of others' opinions. Your questions are directed to the moderator. Correspondence received prior to 4:30 on June 19th, 2023 has been logged and registered. A public hearing is a requirement for amendments to the Land Use Bylaw, LUB, as stated in the Municipal Government Act, MGA, Part 8, Section 205. A public hearing allows the public to provide input to council. Council will not be making decisions at this meeting. We are receiving information from the public to assist us in our decision making for second reading after consideration of any submissions made or received at this hearing. Council will have an opportunity to seek clarification from the acting development officer after their presentation. This is the public, last opportunity to provide submissions to the council prior to decision making. The public hearing is called a minimum of 14 days after first reading. The recommendation to council was presented and first reading in this case occurred on May 30th, 2023 council meeting. Only those members of council who are present at this meeting may vote on the matter before this public hearing when it comes before council for second reading this evening after this public hearing. This meeting is called to order. Councillor Zabian has sent regrets and chair notes that we have quorum. The agenda is fixed as presented. Acting Development Officer Kirsten Duncan will walk us through the remainder of the public hearing for the subdivision bylaw amendment. I will be the timekeeper, and again, we ask that you be considerate of other people's time. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and residents of Kentville. My name is Kirsten Duncan. I am the Acting Development Officer and Planning Technician for the town. This evening, I will be taking you through the proposed amendments to the Kentville Subdivision Bylaw. Our current subdivision bylaw was originally adopted by Town Council in 2002. Within the original 2002 edition of the bylaw, the requirements for the consideration of sidewalks along new arterial and collector roads were as followed. Sidewalks were to be built on both sides of the road for new arterial roads, and one sidewalk to be built on one side of the road for new collector roads. This specific language could be found within Appendix B, Municipal Services Standards and Specifications, Part 2, Street Specifications, subsection 12. In 2008, the bylaw was amended to remove the requirement for sidewalks to be built on collector roads. Therefore, the bylaw currently reads today that sidewalks shall be incorporated into the construction of new arterial roadways as per the following on both sides. I'd like to take this opportunity to provide a little bit of context around the classification of roads in Kentville. Our municipal planning strategy identifies the different classifications that we use here in town and contains a transportation map, which is map number 2 of the MPS, that graphically represents the different classes of each road. The following 6 roads are classified as major collector: Main Street and Park Street, Chester Avenue, Cornwallis Street, Belcher Street, Nichols Avenue, and Brooklyn Street. The next 6 roads are classified as minor collector: Shyla Drive, Acadia Drive, West Main Street, Prospect Avenue, Canaan Avenue, and Oakdean Avenue. And lastly, the Donald E. Hiltz Connector Road is the only road which holds the classification of an arterial highway. In 2019, the town contracted Upland Planning to create an active transportation plan known as Kentville Moves. As part of the plan, Upland provided the town with policy recommendations to consider, ensuring that our planning documents aligned with the goals and objectives of the active transportation plan. One of the recommendations was to amend section 2.12 of the subdivision bylaw to require sidewalks on both sides of collector roads, as you can see in the snippet on the screen. Planning staff have evaluated the existing bylaw, the recommendations from Upland, and considered future plans for development in town, and had crafted initial amendments that would require a sidewalk on one side of the road for both arterial and collector roads. As part of the public participation process for the town of Kentville, staff held a public participation meeting on May 25th, inviting residents to come forward with their opinions on the matter. 3 residents attended the meeting in person, and 2 residents were in attendance via Zoom. Residents spoke about the importance of not just considering sidewalks, but considering multi-use pathways as well. Staff have taken all points into consideration and have recommended the following comprehensive amendments to the subdivision bylaw. For clarity, the newly added words are in bold. So we've added a definition of a multi-use pathway, which reads that a multi-use pathway or multi-use pathways are spaces that are shared by cyclists and pedestrians, which are separated from traffic by a grassed median, curb, or similar. In addition, we are suggesting amending the part 212 to say that sidewalks or multi-use pathways shall be incorporated into the construction of new collector and arterial roadways as per the following. So on arterial roadways, there would be the option to have sidewalks on both sides or one multi-use pathway on one side. And then on collector roadways, there's the option to either have a sidewalk or a multi-use pathway on one side. In addition to those amendments, we've also created some specifications for developers and folks to follow when they are creating these new pathways. In conjunction with the Engineering and Public Works Department, we were able to put these together, and the Parks and Rec Department, sorry. So that requires that a minimum width of the multi-use pathway shall be 3 meters unless otherwise approved. That the multi-use pathway shall be separated from the back of the street curb by a minimum of a 900 millimeter median. Pedestrian ramps shall be installed at all intersections having a minimum of 1200 millimeter low back curb and 1000 millimeter taper on both ends. That multi-use pathways shall be constructed of 65 millimeter thick asphalt unless otherwise approved. That a gravel base shall be 150 millimeter type 1 gravel compacted to 98% standard Proctor density and shall extend 150 millimeters outside the edge of each edge of the multi-use pathway. We have some grade requirements so that we can ensure that they're not any more steeper than they should or need to be, and that they must maintain a cross slope of 2% to ensure proper drainage. So those are the amendments as they are currently set forward, and that concludes my presentation on the proposed amendments. And now we will move to the public comments section. I have received one written submission that I will read into this meeting, and then we can open up the floor to anybody who wishes to stand and speak. The one submission that we had received was from Megan Sabine of McDougall Heights, and she had said that she would like to see an amend to include the policy that provides for the continuation of one sidewalk on both new arterial and collector roads that are being accessed or developed from an existing arterial and collector road, with priority given to areas that are either a walking route and or within a 1 kilometer radius of public schools and public service facilities, and that the cost of installation on new sidewalks on existing arterial and collector roads will be at a shared cost of 50-50 between the developer and the town for the purposes of ensuring adherence to the AT plan, safe movement of pedestrians, and avoidance of sidewalks to nowhere within the town.
Thank you. Prior to inviting the public, I would invite council.
Sorry.
I would invite council to, if there are any questions from members of council. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Kirsten. Quick question. The active transportation trail or whatever, 3 meters, is that unobstructed? Meaning there's not gonna be a lamp post and a lamp post. It's 3 meters from the curb to the end in its entirety.
Where we're developing new roads and we have the ability to maintain, absolutely. And if we're trying to retrofit, then it's trying to do the best with what we can within that area.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship. Hi, Kirsten, sorry. The letter that you just read from Ms. Sabian, will we have a copy of that? There just was a fair bit of content in that, and I probably would like to reflect a bit more.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. Are there any further questions? I have one, but it's just for clarification. When you say multi-use pathway, Chester Avenue, is that what we can expect as a multi-use?
Yes, that, from what I understand, was our first attempt at constructing a multi-use pathway, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no further questions, we invite the public. You will have 5 minutes. I have a 1-minute timer, so I will put this up, and the mic will go off when your 5 minutes is up. So if we have any members of the public who wish to speak with regards to what has been presented, please, the microphone is available to you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. My understanding is that we're not to ask questions, but we are able to make comments. I wasn't at
Pat,
the...
excuse me, Pat, you may ask questions of Kirsten.
I may ask questions of Kirsten. Oh,
That's
okay,
correct.
great. Thank you very much. I'm maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball here because I wasn't at the original planning meeting, so some of this may have been covered already, and I apologize if that's the case. But you mentioned a developer. I'm wondering who that is. I'm wondering how the costs are to be covered, if that's coming out of like existing town revenues or where the money's coming from on that. And upland planning, can we, maybe everybody knows this already, and if that's the case, maybe you can just direct me where I can find that information. What company that is or consulting firm. And active transportation plan, I'm not familiar with that plan. So that's 4 things: the developer, the costs, upland planning, and active transportation plan. Thank
you. First off, if I miss something, please let me know. The comments about the cost to the developer, that was just what I was reading from the public comments from, I think from the letter that was submitted by a resident. But whenever a new road is constructed in Kentville, if it were to be a collector road, then the developer would be required to, with this amendment, to construct a sidewalk on that road, same as an arterial road if a developer were to ever construct one. At this moment in time, our subdivision bylaw only requires sidewalks to be built on arterial roads, so we're just trying to make it so that there are more sidewalks that can be built. In regards to the active transportation plan, I believe that is available on our website. Upland Planning is a firm out of Halifax that was chosen to be the firm to create that plan for Kentville back in 2019. Did that cover everything for you?
Well, I just wondered if there's plans underway now and there's a developer in place, or if this is all hypothetical.
Do you want to respond to that, CEO?
Thank you. So this is a global document, so that if we had a developer or 10 developers came along and we're going to be building a road, a subdivision or whatever, these rules would then apply to them. So it's not an individual, it's whoever would come forward with a development plan in the future. So once council, if council were to pass this, these rules would apply to the developer, or they would apply to the town themselves if we were building a road. So this is kind of not specific to any individual or company. It's kind of globally going to be there for anyone who would be building in the future. You're welcome.
Are there any further questions from the public? Are there any further questions from the public? Are there any further questions from the public? There being no further questions, this meeting and no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. If I could have a motion to adjourn, please. Thank you, Councillor Huntley and Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried and the time is 6:17. We will break for 5 minutes and then return here to do a special meeting with regards to second reading of this bylaw change. And Deputy Mayor, you wanted a copy of that document?